Okay, hi there. Thank you for joining today. We are going to go through our Rocky River Watershed Advisory Committee meeting today. I really appreciate everybody being here. I am Nicole Velez. I am a watershed team leader for the Rocky River Watershed at the Sewer District. And let's go ahead and get started. So here's our agenda for today. We have a lot of great information to share with you. We're going to hear from our stormwater inspection and maintenance group. We're going to hear from our watershed technical support. Our design and construction manager is going to present to you in a little bit. We're going to hear about the stages and plan review, our title code updates, and then we'll come back to me and I will go over our infrastructure funding. At any time during the meeting, if you have a question, please do not hesitate to type your question in the chat, or if you have a comment or you want more clarification on something, or feel free to raise your hand and we'll be sure to call on you. We do not want you to be shy. We want you to, ask your questions. That's what we're here for. And we want to help you in any way that we can. Our Deputy Director, Matt Sharver, is going to kick things off and give us an overview on our program highlights. Matt?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for attending the Watershed Advisory Committee meeting. Just two brief updates for everyone. First, I just wanted to recognize the continuing strong partnerships that we have with our member communities and our partners in implementing the stormwater management program effectively across the region. I think we'll see several examples today from our different work groups on how that continues to be orchestrated. So I just want to recognize that. And secondly, you'll see in our agenda today that within the Watershed Advisory Committee meeting, we're going to speak a little more to our updated separate sanitary sewer code Title III and our Title IV combined sewer code updates and how they interplay with opportunities for additional funding that's available to member communities to implement projects for the collection system that sometimes have interaction with the stormwater management in the region. So those are two items that we're going to focus on today. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Nicole. Thanks.
Thank you. As I said earlier, I'm a watershed team leader. Looking at this map here, this is the breakdown of our stormwater service area. I have the medium shaded blue area for Rocky River Watershed and parts of the Cuyahoga River North Watershed. Donna Friedman, she is our manager of community watershed coordination. I think many of you know her. She is going to be covering the Cleveland area as a watershed team leader. Ann Schilling is our newest member to our watershed team leader group, and but she's not new to the district. She was previously in our stormwater inspection and maintenance department, and so Ann is focused in on the central area south of Cleveland. And then we have Francisco Rivera. He is focused in on the Chalet, which is the Chagrin. The Chagrin and the Lake Erie tributaries watersheds. So, we're here to serve you. Our contact information is going to be at the end, but please feel free to reach out to us at any time for any questions you have. And with that, you're also welcome to pass our information on to your residents. Okay, so here we've got the community cost share. So most of you know that 25% of the total annual stormwater management program fees collected from each member community are then allocated back to your community for local stormwater issues, stormwater projects. Excuse me. So currently there's over $21 million available to our member communities. So please think about projects you'd like to submit. A couple things to remember. You need to have an approved application and an executed agreement with the sewer district before your project begins. So be sure to contact myself, or if you represent two communities, the appropriate watershed team leader for that community, and we will gladly walk you through this. Also, consider an allocation agreement for larger projects. This will allow reimbursement back to your community for over a 5-year time span. And then this way your community doesn't have to have all that money up front. So that can be, quite helpful. And we want to encourage you to please use your community cost share funds, and then remember to submit for reimbursement. We want to get that money out of our bank and into yours. So please, request your reimbursement so we can get that money back to you. Since the program started, we have been able to utilize over or almost $40 million on local stormwater projects. So this project has been quite successful, the program, and really effective, and we want to continue seeing that happen throughout our region. I'm going to pass the baton over to Tess Walsh. She is a stormwater inspector in our stormwater inspection and maintenance department. So take it away, Tess. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Nikki, for the introduction. I am a little bit newer. I joined in the beginning of October. So since then, since our last WAC meeting, SWIM has completed 112 inspections in the Rocky River watershed. We've had 6 customer calls that can range anywhere between debris or flooding or erosion report. We had 1 CCTV video. That's when we have a contractor do the video inspection with some equipment because usually the pipe is too small for us to fit in. We had 54 debris inspections. Now those include our other responsible party inspections such as railroad, ODOT, or county crossings, and then our quarterly debris rack inspections. And then we had 39 preventative inspections. Those are just routine follow-up inspections based on structural condition scores, and 11 other responsible party inspections. Those are when we receive an updated inspection report from that responsible party, and then that allows us to update the structural condition score for our record keeping. Next slide, please. Sorry. So in terms of maintenance, oh wait, sorry, Nikki, go back one. Okay, thank you. For maintenance, we completed 11 projects that included 8 debris and sediment removals. For debris, we totaled 73 cubic yards, and for sediment, we had 100 cubic yards, which all of that sediment was from downstream of the airport in the Stilling Basin. And then we also had 3 vegetation management projects. Those are our long-term routine maintenance for our project sites that can include tending tree cages, pruning, weed pulling, and mulching. And then for this year, SWIM is kicking off a new contract that is quotable for minor culvert repairs, such as patching or fixing joint issues. Typically, our design and construction team handles the larger projects for a full rehab or replacement. But for this, it's intended to extend the useful life of the asset to reduce our inspection frequency. So for example, we have BD 265 in Parma. It's in generally good condition other than one single offset joint that has visible backfill. So repairing it will improve our rating, which will then reduce our inspection frequency. Next slide. And then another project moving forward this year is our Echo Lake Basin dam removal in Strongsville. Just to recap from our last WAC meeting that we mentioned this project, the stormwater master planners found no flood reduction benefit in having this basin in place. So moving forward, we wanted to go back and redesign this as a natural stream. In the last WAC meeting, we talked about the gradual notching of the dam to raise that water level, which was completed in August of 2022. And then beginning in the second quarter of this year, design will be moving forward, which usually takes about 1 year. And then after the design is complete, we can move into the construction phase. So that's what SWIM has, since the last one and moving forward. Next up, we have Mike Blair, who is a project manager in our Watershed technical support team.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Tess, and thanks everybody for joining us today. If we go to our first slide. Just to give you a quick update on the Rocky River Stormwater Master Plan study. As many of you know, we completed the study back in September of 2020. And since that time, we've taken all the projects that were, or excuse me, problem areas that were identified in the master plan study, and those have gone through our nomination process. So all those problem areas have been nominated, they've been scored, and they've been prioritized, and they've been incorporated into our annual stormwater construction plan, which is being updated every year. So we're in the process of going through that right now, and I'll talk about that momentarily. In addition, in the fall of 2020, we provided copies of the Stormwater Master Plan community reports to each of our WAC community members. Please refer to this often because it is a good resource to give you an idea what the status is of the some watersheds in your communities, identifying those problem areas, and it will be a good source of interaction with your watershed team leader to identify which projects a community may want to take a lead on. And we could talk about that briefly towards the end of my talk here. Also, if you have any questions about what you see in the community plans or what you see in your sub-watershed, please feel free to, again, to reach out to your watershed team leader or myself, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we've just gone through the nomination process for 2022. And what we did is we took all the previous nominations that were um, put into place from our various stormwater master plans and any additional projects that have been identified either through our swim group or from various communities. Back in August of 2022, we wrapped up all those project nominations. Since then, we've gone through the validation in August and through October of last year and finalized the scoring basically in the fourth quarter of 2020. Right now, we're getting ready to finalize that stormwater construction plan and then proceed towards the end of this month to have that approved by our district board, and then we'll be implementing it for the remainder of this year. Next slide, please. So to give you an idea of where we stand right now, for 2022, here's basically a couple of graphs showing you the status of the top 25 stormwater project nominations. And the graph on the left, basically we broke this down into various categories where these project nominations would fit. So the first category would basically consist of 5 stormwater nominations, and these 5 nominations are actually in a condition where they're candidates to be moved forward in either basically into our design and construction program. The next series is the advanced planning projects. These 12 projects were identified as projects that need additional information or have enough complexity that we need to do a little bit of further study on them before they can be properly moved over to our design and construction group for implementation. And then finally, you see we have 8 existing projects through our nominations that are currently in the design or construction phase at this time. And the graph on the right basically gives you a breakdown of where these top 25 project nominations fit as far as the distribution in the watersheds. Next slide, please. So what we currently have in place with our stormwater construction plan is that we have approximately 20 design projects that we're basically going to be carrying over from last year and again implementing those as part of our 2023 stormwater construction plan. And as you go through this table here, that you can see that there's projects that represent each of the major watersheds within our stormwater service area. Next slide. In addition to those, we identified 4 projects that were previously nominated that were moving up into the 2023 stormwater construction plan. based upon a couple of different reasons. The first project, which is the West Branch problem area involving Kalita Ditch. This is an area, this is a project where we have a lot of failing infrastructure associated with this particular problem area. And as a result, we want to basically move that forward so we can address that. So phase A will be specifically addressing the Kalita Ditch within this problem area. West Branch Problem Area 5 is located in the Rocky River subwatershed. With this project area, we've actually secured a critical amount of the property that's required to allow us to implement the first phase of that project. So we're going to be moving forward with that one there. The third project, again, the Applewood Basin Improvement Projects. This again is in the Baldwin Creek subwatershed within the Rocky River. Again, we're dealing with failing infrastructure involving those basins. So what we want to do is get that into a design program so we can address those deficiencies in the basins so we can maintain the level of conveyance through this area of Baldwin Creek. And then finally, we have the Smith Road Basin Project, which is in the Abrams Creek subwatershed in the Rocky River. With this project, we were basically able to secure all the property that's involved with this problem area. And we were also able to acquire federal funding to allow us to move this project forward into design and construction. In addition to these projects, as we gain capacity, we'll be adding additional projects onto this listing as well. So again, on this slide, what you're seeing is basically all the current and proposed design projects that are listed in our 2023 stormwater construction plan. And this graph matches pretty closely with what you saw with a similar pie chart as far as the 2022 stormwater nominations. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we have about 12 projects that we identified during our nomination process that basically need to go through advanced planning. And these are projects that we want to basically get ready for full design, but ones that we may possibly need additional information to understand the full impacts the project will have on the RSS. Some of these projects are basically very large. Typically, they're above $10 million in estimated planning costs to do the design and construction, and that cost doesn't work very well with our annual stormwater budgets. So what we're looking to do is basically review those projects, see if we can break them down into phases so they could be more manageably put through our basically our annual construction budget to move them forward. Same thing is true if they're very complex projects. Again, we want to break those down so that we can move them forward. And again, also collaborate with our partners to make sure we get those, if there's any additional information that may be associated with those advanced planning tasks. Two of the projects that we recently completed for advanced planning, the one on the left is Baldwin Creek Problem Area 6. This is located by the intersection of West Pleasant Valley Road and York Road in the city of Parma. This one basically was a very complex and high cost project that we were successfully able to break down into several tasks. And we're going to be starting with the first task this year, which involves that stormwater basin that you see basically in the upper right-hand corner of the intersection there. Another project that we recently completed was Avon Creek Problem Area 6. This basically involved the installation of a stormwater basin to address RSS flooding that's impacting basically on the border between Middleburg Heights and Brook Park, specifically flooding on Smith Road. What we're able to do with this advanced planning task is basically confirm the location of this basin on a piece of property that recently been made available to us for possibly locating this basin. And we also wanted to do some further modeling to ensure that the installation of this basin here would maintain the, basically allow us to continue or basically to address that preferred alternative for this problem area. Next slide. In addition to those projects that we completed, we have a couple of ongoing projects that we're carrying over from 2022. Both of these projects are involved with the west branch of the Big Creek. The first one on your left involves the Peerless Road Basin near West 140th Street. And the second one is near the West 130th Street neighborhood, where we have intersections with Milligan, Irwin, and Carrington Avenues. Where basically these are large projects which we're trying to break down into phases so that we can move them forward through our design and construction program. Next slide. And now we're actually getting ready to start another advanced planning task. Again, this is going to involve a project within the Big Creek West Branch sub-watershed. We're looking at this one because the preferred alternatives that were originally developed as part of the Rocky River Stormwater Master Plan are no longer viable. And what we want to do is get a better understanding of the interactions of a preferred alternative, both between the RSS and the local stormwater systems, and also see what those benefits would be to the new alternatives. Next slide. In addition to these district-led projects that we have currently that we're currently undertaking, we do have a number of community-led projects that we're providing either financial and/or technical support to. So if you take a look at the table here, we have approximately 6 projects, actually 7 projects, excuse me, that are currently in the design phase and are various stages of design and getting ready to go to construction. We have 3 projects that are currently in construction phase in both the Abram Creek sub-watershed. And then finally, we have 1 project, the Foster's Brook Stream Restoration, that we just completed in the 4th quarter of 2022. Next slide. To give you an example of 2 of these community-led projects, the one on the left is in the Abrams Creek sub-watershed. This involves basically the design and construction of 3 detention basins to alleviate flooding that's occurring along Big Creek Parkway. At this time, we're getting ready to start construction on basin number 3. That'll be let in the 2nd quarter of this year, with construction starting in the 3rd quarter. And we're looking at continuing the design of basin number 2 with the plan of starting construction probably in the 4th quarter of this year. The image on the right shows you, excuse me, we'll go back a second. It involves the Sheldon Road project. Basically, we have a lot of inundation associated with Sheldon Road. This project that we're teaming up with the city of Brook Park would involve raising the profile of the road and replacing the bridge so that we can basically lift this up high enough that we can get just about to the 100-year level of service on this roadway. Next slide. And then we also have a number of projects that are actually being led by our watershed partner groups throughout our stormwater service area. A lot of these are basically ones where the watershed partners have applied, have been provided Ohio EPA Section 319 grant monies, and we're providing either financial matching funds for this and also potentially some technical support as well. We have 1 project that's currently finishing its design work in the Rocky River, which is the Greenbrier Valley floodplain restoration. And then in the construction phase, we have 4 projects that are currently either starting or in substantial completion for this phase of the work. One of these, the West Creek Padua Stream Restoration, is nearby to this stormwater watershed group. That'll actually be starting. Actually, it started Monday of this week and will be going through to April of next month. Then finally, we have 1 project, the Beecher's Brook Stream Restoration, that we completed in Mayfield Village at the end of last year. Next slide. And just to kind of give you an update on that Greenbrier Valley floodplain restoration, as I mentioned, we're currently finishing up design on this project with our lead, which is the County Soil and Water Conservation District. And they are looking at this time of getting all their permits that they need for any impacts to wetlands and also the stream channel itself. The plan right now is to both start and end construction in the fourth quarter of this year. Next slide. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have. And if not, I guess I will turn it over to Janet Popielski, who is our Stormwater Program Manager. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mike. And good afternoon, everyone. That's a lot of good information that Mike presented that helps us to develop our stormwater design and construction program as we move forward into that phase of these projects. And so first, I'm going to just start off with a full list of all the projects that we currently have in some stage or of design or construction. So this accounts for over $130 million in construction. Towards the top of the list are the ones that we actually do have underway right now. If they have an NTP date that's actually passed, then those are in construction. And then as we move down, some of those projects at the very bottom are actually in the procurement stage for design services, particularly Lower Shaker Lake reconstruction. So we do have two projects currently out to bid. One is the West Creek stabilization, which is our largest project to date. It's a $20 million project in Brooklyn Heights. And the other one is our Broadview Heights Echo Lane flood reduction in the Chippewa watershed. But I'm going to highlight a few projects for you today that are in the Rocky River watershed. So first, in the design category, we have two projects that are currently in design that are flood relief projects in the city of Parma. The first one Mike had already mentioned briefly, and that's the Delhaven Basin on Baldwin Creek. So this project is anticipated to reduce peak flows by over 50%, taking an area that currently has less than a 5-year level of service up to about the 25-year. So in this area, we are anticipating reduction in flooding on 5 roads and up to 49 houses. 16 of those houses will reach the 100-year level of service just with the construction of this basin. And then in subsequent years, we'll be moving forward with other pieces to this larger problem area. So this contract was recently awarded to EMH&T. The estimated construction value is $5 million, and we're anticipating construction in late 2024, 2025. One of the complications or one of the issues that we'll be working around is that, as you can see on the screen, the area circled in red is the property that we're going to be constructing the basin, and there's a sanitary sewer and a storm sewer that run directly through there. So those will have to be relocated as we construct our basin. Next slide. So the other project that we're currently working on the design of is the Bonnie Banks Basin expansion, also in the city of Parma. This residential area has experienced repetitive flooding over the years. This particular basin was originally built in the 1960s due to the development that was occurring. And in 2018, we did dredge this basin to provide some temporary relief to this neighborhood. Through the Stormwater Master Plan, though, it was identified that the basin needed to be expanded. And there was also a relief culvert that was identified for this particular neighborhood, which I'll be talking about in just a moment as well. So in addition to expanding the basin and increasing the capacity by about 50%, we're also looking to improve our ability to maintain the basin. So we're going to be installing access drives to clean off the outlet structure, as well as a forebay and access drives to the forebay itself. So one thing that we do take into consideration when we're designing our projects is maintaining them. Also in projects such as this, where we're dealing with a basin, we do take special consideration for the sediment that's in the basin and how that sediment is going to be dealt with. So we do get this question a lot from the public, is what we do with all the sediment that we're removing. So during the design stage, we will test the sediment for both characterization as well as potential contamination. We'll use that information to develop our estimates to determine how it will have to be disposed of. If there is contaminants that exceed a residential level, then we'll have to adjust our estimates accordingly in order to make sure that it's properly disposed of. If it's not, then we'll take that into consideration as well. We do provide that information to the contractors during bids, and then it's up to them, though, how they ultimately handle the settlement. But during the construction process, we do require them to submit to us for our review their disposal locations so that we can make sure that they have all the proper permits and that they have the permission to take that sediment there. So we do this for a review purpose. We don't approve it. But this is just the way that we're making sure that any sediment that goes off the site is properly handled when we're doing a project. Next slide. So there is one project that we currently have under construction in the Rocky River Watershed that I'd like to highlight. And this is one that I just briefly mentioned when I was talking about the Bonnie Banks Basin. And that's the Storms Drive Relief Culvert on Baldwin Creek. So this is in the same neighborhood that's directly downstream of that Bonnie Banks Basin. Again, through the master plan, they recognized that this culvert was necessary because there was just a 36-inch culverted stream section that was going through the area that wasn't properly draining. So the recommendation was to install the 48-inch relief culvert. This picture here, you can see that there's two culverts, and the second 48-inch was another storm sewer that was in the area. We've also been working around a lot of utilities on this project. There's a 20-inch high-pressure gas main, a water line, and a sanitary sewer that have had to be relocated or moved out of the way or worked around. So the nice thing, though, about this was that this has all been in the public right-of-way. For those of you that are familiar with our projects, you know that a lot of times we're having to acquire easements for our projects, but this one we were able to do within the public right-of-way. This was awarded last year to Fabrizi Trucking, and it's currently underway for $1.6 million, and we're anticipating substantial completion in November of this year. Next slide. And then just to highlight a few of our recently completed projects in the Rocky River Watershed, we've actually had quite a few going on over the past several years. This one is Blodgett Creek stabilization in the city of Strongsville. This was a small bank stabilization project that was originally identified by our stormwater inspection and maintenance group that involved 350 feet of stream stabilization. There's also a sanitary sewer right through the area, which we worked with the city of Strongsville in order to enter into an agreement so that we would replace and protect the sanitary sewer during the construction of this project. So that's something that we're always looking to do on our projects. If there's mutual benefit to enter into an agreement with the community or another partner to address another issue, we're always willing to do that. So this project was recently completed by North Star Contracting, and it was for $389,000. Next slide. So the Rocky River Stream Stabilization and Sewer Protection in the city of North Royalton was another one that we did partner with the community on. So in this instance, the stream was eroding right into a sanitary sewer. So we did the stabilization of about 500 lineal feet, and we also included the encasement of the sewer in there. So again, we partnered with the city to make sure that the stream was addressed, but that the sewer was also in good condition, and we didn't have to get back into that stream at a later date. And this one was completed in June of last year. Next slide. So an additional project on the Rocky River to address erosion was the tributary stabilization and realignment along Ridge Road. So this is in the southern part of North Royalton. So this stream had over the years been eroding right towards Ridge Road. You can see in the picture on the left that it's actually cutting into the road itself. Those guardrail posts were hanging down. Previous efforts to try to stabilize the bank had been failing. They'd just been washed away. So we actually pursued the project to realign the stream and move it away from the road. And you can see the result there on the right-hand side in the after picture. So this project was completed about a year ago now. The vegetation is really taking hold nicely, and the stream is stabilizing very well. Next slide. And so just to give you an idea of what our projects do after we're complete, this is the Blodgett Creek project, and you can just see how the stream flows through the area during a higher water event. And Nikki, I don't, if you want to go ahead. So you can see another tributary coming in there. And then as it flows through the area, we always try to create some floodplain, make sure that we have a good deal of vegetation through the area. So the stream is up a little bit in this video, but it is designed to get higher than that and access its floodplain there on the left bank. So we're going to try to provide you with more of these types of things in the future to show you how the projects function after we're completed. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions. And if there are none, then I'm going to turn it over to Rob Storkel to talk about our SAGES and our plan review. Thank you.
Hello, I am Rob Storkel. I'm the Community Discharge Permit Program Specialist here at the Sewer District, and my job is to monitor the plan review, and we use a software called SagesGov for that. Next slide, please. We do many different types of plan reviews here at the district. Title IV is a plan review that's in the combined sewer area. That is primarily Cleveland, some of the inner ring, east side suburbs, and west side. It's about stormwater management. We do a Title V, which is also stormwater management, but this is in the separate sewer area. For both of these types of reviews, we rely on the local communities to direct the developers or engineers, which is what we'd hope to deal with, the engineers, to the district for this plan review. We also do green infrastructure grant programs, direct connection requests, which are when you're connecting right to a sewer district pipe or other facility physically. We do acceptance of flow requests. This is a requirement of the Ohio EPA permit to install application that you have this acceptance of flow letter attached. Basically says that the sewer district has the capacity at our treatment plants for new flow that might be associated with an extension of the sanitary sewer system. We do utility verification reviews. This is where public projects want to verify that sewer district facilities are represented correctly within the plan set. And member community infrastructure program reviews, where we're just saying if the project matches the original funded intent. Next slide, please. We use SagesGov, which is a software system that not only safely accepts your plans, but also is constantly letting us know that reviews need to be done, and it keeps them in an organized fashion and stores the plans for the long term. So to access SagesGov, you would have folks go to NURSD.org, our website, under business, and then plan review. You'll see the SagesGov logo, and you can click on that logo. There is a registration, basically getting contact information so that we can verify an email address. Next slide, please. Then the applicants would pick a submittal type. They'll log in again once their email has been verified. Here's the home screen to Sages that you see on the right, where you select a review type. There's a small application to fill out, which gives us the contact information and basically who the letter in the end might be written to, if there is one. You upload PDFs. SagesGov accepts PDFs. And then you hit a submit key, and the software lets us know that there's a new review to do. Next slide, please. The software also sends an email to the applicant. So once they have uploaded to Sages, then they will get an email from SagesGov. So that email can be used by the communities to verify that they've indeed sent something to the sewer district for plan review. SagesGov also tells the plan reviewers there's something to do. Like I said, and me, it keeps me in the loop all the time. So there is that registration process where the applicant completes that registration and verifies that email. That applicant is the one that SagesGov is talking to on the other end. Under Files in SagesGov, you can see our marked up drawings and our comments. Once you've addressed the comments and you have new drawings to resubmit showing any revisions that might have been requested, you will resubmit those drawings through Sages. And again, it would go through that review process. You have to type in a response for each comment. You check the application to make sure it is still up to date. You upload those revised drawings and hit submit. So it's a fairly simple and intuitive process. Next slide, please. At the end of these different reviews, there is a different outcome. Title IV in the combined sewer area, we send out a no objection letter both to the applicant, and we include the engineer, or in Cleveland, Water Pollution Control. In Title V, that is we only get letter requests in Parma, North Royalton, and in Olmsted Township, where the county does reviews. We can do a no objection letter there. If you wanted something that for your community, you would just ask me, contact me, and we'll work that out. Direct connection requests result in a connection approval letter. Again, I'm going to copy the local community engineers when I send those to the applicant. And that gives instructions because there is an inspection that follows any connection to a sewer district facility. Acceptance of flow, we send out the letter that you're going to attach to the Ohio EPA application. Again, basically saying that we have the capacity at our treatment plants for your new flow. When it comes to green infrastructure grant, utility verification, or member community infrastructure program, you get an email from Sages that says the review is complete. If you need more documentation, please contact me directly. Next slide, please. And on this slide is how you contact me. As I said, I'm Robert Sturkel, the CDPP Community Discharge Permit Program Specialist. This is my email. There's an easier email, cdpp@nurst.org. I'm monitoring both of those mailboxes. There's my phone number there. I'm at extension 6802. There are instructions on our webpage that the applicant can get. And I have instructions that I can send out if you need them. So I'm here to help. If there's any plan review questions, let me know. The next is Community Discharge Permit Program Manager, Jeff Jowett. Next slide, Nikki.
Thank you, Rob. That was a great presentation. And please reach out to Rob or myself if you have any questions about any plan review or the process. So in December, the Sewer District Board updated Title III and Title IV. They did a repeal and replacement on both of these titles. And so I want to use this time to just provide you with an update on what those changes are and how they will affect you and the member community. So through the Ohio Revised Code 6119.08, the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District has the authority to issue codes of regulation. And our Title III Code of Regulation deals with separate sanitary sewers, and our Title IV deals with combined sewers. And so we went through and updated those codes and provided revisions to them and make them more friendly for your use and our use. Next slide, please. So what we did with Title III is we went through and looked at the whole document and updated it so that it would be more user-friendly. Like I said, not only for our member communities, but also for district staff. So we removed some chapters that weren't needed, changed the order of some of the chapters, and went through the definitions and updated those and removed some definitions that were no longer relevant or needed, and updated some definitions so that Title III, Title IV, Title II, all of our codes of regulations had the same feel and flow to them. But the biggest change for Title III was the creation of the Water Quality Technical Support Program. So in the past, what Title III did is it included, along with the permit, the water quality issues that were regulated by other entities, such as sanitary sewer overflows, basement backups, failing septic systems. And so we recognize that other entities are the regulators of those water quality issues. And so what the sewer district wants to do, and the way we've been approaching this for many years, is to support our member communities. And, we don't want to be the regulator. There's other folks that are doing that. So through the Water Quality Technical Support Program, what we're asking our member communities to do is to participate in this voluntary program. And really, we're not asking you to do anything more than what you are already doing. We want you to continue to update us on the information that you already have to supply to the regulators on these water quality issues, such as SSOs, basement backups, but provide us those information. And if you do that, then you will be eligible for MCIP funding. So we'll provide the funding in order to help correct some of these water quality issues. Next slide. So as I mentioned in the previous slide, this is an opportunity for us to support our member communities in addressing these water quality issues that are regulated by others. We prefer to use a carrot as opposed to a stick. Other folks are already the regulators. We don't want to double up on that. This is a voluntary program. Member communities do not need to participate in it. But again, we are not asking you to do anything more than what you are already doing. We're just pulling it apart from your permit and putting it in a separate bucket, and then making MCIP funds available to that member community. What will be required in the permit moving forward is the control of excessive I&I in areas within your community that have been identified through the LSSES reports and studies that were just done, completed recently throughout our service area. We're asking our member communities to maintain and update local sewer data, as you always have, implement best management practices, and then create a 5-year community compliance plan that'll just outline how compliance of the permit objectives will be achieved. Next slide. Title IV had a similar update to Title III, went through the document, making it easier to use for everybody, updated definitions so that they aligned with Title III and removed any outdated definitions that were no longer being used. But what we did here to make this a little bit clearer for our member communities was we created a new chapter on connections to and disconnections from the combined sewer system. Now, this information was already in Title IV. It was just buried in some other chapters. And we thought that this information was very important, especially because of the work that the sewer district is doing and the investment in Project Clean Lake to address combined sewer overflows. So we want to ensure that any developments, connections or disconnections from the combined sewers are going through that Title IV review process that Rob was talking about. So there is a new chapter that better identifies exactly what that process is and how the community can ensure that they are following that process correctly. Next slide. So the benefits of these updates to Title III and Title IV is really consistency, is making sure that these two code of regulations align with one another, make them easier for everybody to use. And what we're doing is we are creating one unified permit. In the past, there was a Title III permit and a Title IV permit. And for our communities that have separate sewers and combined sewers, it got a little bit cumbersome having two separate permits. So we're going to combine those and have one unified permit that will identify what is required for both Title III and Title IV. And we want to improve the utilization of district resources. So, the sewer district invested quite a lot of money in the local sewer system evaluation studies all across our service area to identify issues and high-level solutions to some of those issues and problems within the local sewer system. So we want to ensure that those are being utilized and that there is money out there to help correct and fund these problems. So this is designed to kind of work hand in hand. We've identified those problems. We've come up with high-level solutions, and then we're going to provide you an opportunity for funding the solutions to those problems through the Member Community Infrastructure Program, the MCIP grant. So overall usability is going to improve. The simplicity hopefully will improve with the unified permit. And then, water quality improvement and infrastructure investment all across our service area hopefully will improve as well. So, we're going to help guide you through this process all the way from the beginning to the end by helping you identify what those issues are, helping you come up with some funding, and walking you through that whole process. Next slide. And so that's all I have for you today on the updates of Title III and Title IV. We will be rolling this out throughout 2023. 2024 will really kick off the new permits and the implementation of Title III and Title IV. So you'll be hearing more from me later on this year, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you. And now I'll hand it back over to Nicole Velez.
Thanks, Jeff. If you are new to your community, especially if you are a newer city engineer, and if you have not received those local sewer system evaluation study reports for your community, please contact me so I can make sure we get those to you. We use ShareFile, and because those reports are really important when you're working on that compliance plan that Jeff was just speaking about, and then also for submitting your MCIP program grants applications. All right. So last thing we're going to go over today is I'm going to provide you with an infrastructure funding update, specifically about the Ohio Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund. As part of the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the Ohio Water Pollution Control Loan Fund received an additional $100 million for the next 4 years. So 49% of this money will be dispersed through loans that do not need to be paid back. And so they're referring to this as that principal forgiveness. These will be awarded to disadvantaged communities. The district assisted the communities in 2022 and will be continuing to help them through the next in 2023. So this is showing you the criteria for the disadvantaged communities. The communities had to meet 3 of the 4 categories listed here. Last year, 20 of our member communities qualified as disadvantaged. And you could see that the numbers have slightly changed for 2024. So we're going to be looking at those new numbers and confirming that those same 20 communities are also eligible this year, and maybe there's a few more. So these are some of the projects that score really well for the Water Pollution Control Fund. As you can see, it's similar to the Member Community Infrastructure Program in that the projects that benefit the human health category are considered a priority. In 2022, we reviewed the communities that qualified for funding against the LSSES study projects. We analyzed what those projects we thought that we could design, and as well as the tier of the project to help prioritize them. We helped communities apply for 8 projects, and 3 ended up receiving principal forgiveness, which we're really happy about. This year, we've been again looking at how we can position communities to apply for this program this August. If your community is available for principal forgiveness, you will likely hear from us in the near future. We want to continue to work together to bring more money into this region. So let's do this. Onto our member community infrastructure program, grant funding. So this is a competitive grant. It's offered annually, and for the 2024, we have $15 million available to be awarded. The grant program was created to address Clean Water Act issues since 2017. And since 2017, $62.5 million has been awarded with an additional $82.5 million in matching investment from our member community and other funding sources. So it's a lot of dough. In this slide, you can see that the program impact so far. So as you can see, a lot of the great work that has been done over the last 7 years, and we really look forward to your 2024 funding year submissions. So there have been a few changes to the MCIP policy. The most important change is how we will be distributing those funds. Previously, it's been a reimbursement, and that's it's been successful, but we want to be able to have more communities apply for this program. So communities, during the reimbursement, communities would pay the consultant or the contractor, and then we would reimburse the communities with that money. Beginning July 1st of this year, we're going to be changing over to direct disbursement. So that means that the community will review the contractor's invoices and ensure that the work has been, properly executed. And then the communities will then submit those invoices to the sewer district for, again, further review. Got a lot of money going on here. And then we will just simply disperse the money back to the community. So this way, it just allows the community an easier way to let the funds flow through and not have to worry about having all that money up front. So again, the direct disbursement begins July 1st. The current reimbursement procedures are going to remain in place until June 30. If you have any questions, I should have put her contact information on here. Linda Mayer will be sending a detailed email in the near future, I think before June, to make sure that everybody's on the same page with this new policy change. If you have an MCIP project agreement that was already executed before this was enacted, then you can request to switch it to direct disbursement after July 1st.
Hey,
Okay,
Nikki,
oh yeah,
in the chat,
that's
we did have
Donna.
Ramona asked if we could repeat that process. So for previously it was reimbursement, and so the city had to pay the contractor for whatever they were owed, and then the district would reimburse the city for those costs. Now it's going to be direct disbursement starting July 1st. So just direct disbursement is not only hard to say, but it's also a little confusing. So the city will receive the invoices from the contractor. They will review those invoices and make sure everything looks right for the work that's being done. After they review the invoices and say, yep, this looks good, they'll send it over to the district. We will review those again. Once we've checked all the boxes, we will send the money to the community, and then the community pays the contractor. So the city does not have to pay the contractor upfront like they used to get reimbursed. The money will flow from us to the community, and then the community will then pay the contractor. Any questions?
It is a mouthful.
No, okay. And as Nikki said, Linda Mayer will be sending out an email with further direction, especially to those who currently have agreements as well. So thank you.
Thanks. All right, looking ahead to 2025, as you heard in Jeff's portion of the presentation, the communities will have an opportunity to participate in the Water Quality Technical Support Program. And they will be required to be eligible for this program. You have to, I'm sorry, I jumbled my wording. In this program, it's required for a community to be eligible for next year's MCIP round. So the anticipated change will most likely also be reflected in the 2025 MCIP funding round. As we move through these code updates, Jeff Jowett will be reaching out to the communities about the Water Quality Technical Support Program with further information. Here is the schedule for our upcoming MCIP program. Hopefully, if you, I'm hoping, assuming that you work for a member community, that you received our MCIP request for proposals in an email last week. If for some reason you did not receive that email, please either say it in the chat or reach out to me directly, and I'll make sure that you get that information. But the other thing you could also do is if you just simply, go on Google and type in MCIP NURSD, then it'll bring you to like our landing page, and it's got all the details in there. If it has like a tutorial in there. It's really impressive. The pre-proposal meetings are scheduled for mid to late May. We highly recommend that communities schedule those meetings to go over their projects. The more prepared the applicant is for those meetings, then the more prepared the review committee will be when we receive the applications for the June and July roll around. And the last thing that I wanted to update you on is the US EPA's Clean Watershed Needs Survey. The US EPA sends this survey out every 4 years, and it helps with congressional budgeting efforts and helps support public clean water initiatives. This slide may look familiar because we also presented it in the October WAC agenda. But because there was a lack of submissions, the due date was actually pushed out to April. So communities should submit local capital improvement plans for wastewater and stormwater assets. We would expect that most of these costs would be related to sewer rehabilitation, replacement, pump station improvements. Back trucks and other capitalized costs should be submitted as well. The district did give the Ohio EPA and the LSSES plans. However, they are encouraging communities to supplement that information since it was really at like a high level overview. So please, consider submitting that survey. It's really beneficial. Here is my contact information and also my manager's contact information, Donna Friedman. Please feel free to reach us for any questions regarding any of the programs that we talked about today, or if you have any considerations for applying for any of these funding opportunities, we'd love to work with you and get that rolling. Are there any questions from anybody? Don't be shy.
I don't see any questions, Nikki, but I did want to point out that occasionally in the past we've done a workshop for MCIP. We've kind of revamped that. Keith McClintock and his group has revamped that, and now there's a story map that is really nice. I'll put the link in the chat, but you can scroll through and it has everything from what's new in 2024 to project eligibility, project evaluation, online application information. So I'm putting that in there now. So please just scroll through. It's a great resource and we look forward to your applications. And with that, any other questions?
I would like to add that we have been, hosting these meetings virtually for the past several years, and we are anticipating and hoping to have this in person this October. As soon as we have those dates set, we'll send them to you, but hopefully we can see everybody in person. Okay, if anybody has, if nothing else, then I just want to thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate your time. Okay, bye.
Thank you.